Welcome to Food Shrinks.
Okay, I need therapy.
Okay.
I swear to God, I woke up this morning and I was like, well, and I opened social media. So in case you're wondering, oh, how's Molly's social media fast going? Not well. I opened, uh, anyway, and I thought, oh, I wonder if Molly and Clarissa would let me have therapy for the podcast today.
Here we
Lay
are.
it on us.
Oh, you guys, it's so funny. Also, I first want to say, I really spent a lot of my childhood trying to dodge bullying. I don't know if you guys relate to just trying to outrun and outsmart bullying because I was like a really chunky kid and I had a dead dad and I just, I didn't belong from the beginning. I belong now. I understand that. I don't know if you guys relate to that, but I think that is a little bit of what this is about. But so anyway, careful what you file under, careful what you wish for. I just went on TikTok for the first time ever and started posting on TikTok, and I got like 15,000 views on
Wow.
this. I
That's
know,
amazing.
on this video I made. And the general gist of the video was, the person's asking me, what about binging on almonds? And I'm sort of like, listen, if you want to know why you're binging on almonds, stop binging on almonds. And I talk a lot about, you know, having limits and boundaries around your food, and especially when you're feeling emotionally dysregulated. By the way, the idea that I'm explaining myself is already the problem, but you guys will get, I have good therapists right now. But so and I think, whatever, when things get that big, people are not going to agree with it. And especially people who are in the traditional eating disorder world, all foods are good foods and, all that. And I mean, there's just, and I'm so embarrassed about how sensitive I am to this. And one person's like, this isn't as, they're not even mean yet, guys. This isn't as hot of a take as you think. I can't believe there's an eating disorders therapist saying this. Like, where are your credentials? And I wish I was like a little bit of Teflon being like, like what I would tell people, like, well, that's their opinion. And I am rattled.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to tell you, I'm not going to cry. Well, I mean, it's food shrinks. Why wouldn't I cry? But I'm like rattled. And honestly, I'm like, you know what? Maybe this juice isn't worth the squeeze. Like maybe that and I am like, for the listener, I mean, I'm obviously having therapy with my friends, but I do wonder if the larger conversation we're about to have, just so you're like, Molly, who cares about your TikTok problem? I think it's a problem we all have, which is, am I about to dim my light in a really significant way because people are gonna bully me
Right.
and not agree with me?
Yeah.
The floor is open.
Clarissa, you usually go first.
Well, I say, like I heard you say that there's a part of you that knows their words are more about them than about you. Like, what is that part? Where is that part right now?
Wait, what do we talk about in food shrinks about imposter syndrome? What do you guys think of I think it's imposter syndrome. What do we think about that?
Well, I think that I mean, you'll have to tell us, but I'm
Oh, yeah,
sure.
just be a friend. Just give me advice.
Yeah.
It's fine. We don't
No,
have to
but
really.
I'm pretty sure that you know what you're talking about when it comes to food addiction. And which is what it sounds like you're explaining on here. And if somebody is looking at this from an ED lens and not understanding what you're doing, or, only coming it from their bias, are like, what part of that makes you feel like an imposter?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess there's just this, and maybe it's just having been counterculture for so long. I don't know. I'm like, well, maybe they're right. Maybe I shouldn't be posting about this because I'm an eating disorders therapist. But how I've been able to help people, and I mean, I guess I just abandoned myself really easily. Go on, Molly, that face. If you're on YouTube, you want to freeze frame and make your screensaver that face, because it's so validating, because you're like, wait, that's really crazy, Molly, but in the best way possible.
Well, when we think about imposter syndrome and some of the comments that got you to that place. And they're like, what are your credentials? Oh, what are their goddamn credentials? Sorry for the swear. Like, what are their credentials? Like that's the justice value in me. That's the fighter in me that comes out immediately though, right? Is my first knee-jerk reaction is, who are they? Why do they think they know? Are they doing better work than you? Are they doing any work?
I think they're just consumers.
So that gives us information, right? So the thing that you said irritated their inner demons. And when we all have this in us, when we have our inner demons irritated, we push back, we fight, we flight, right? We go into survival. And so this imposter syndrome, I think, honestly, is a term.
I think it's a crappy term. I think there's
I think it describes you going into survival, like you going to that place of having to adjust your belief system and check in of like, wait a minute, does this get me closer to what I want? Do we
think it might be like clinical appeasement? Like, do you think it might be clinical levels of appeasement from my bullying when I was a child? Like, do you think there's a possibility? Like, what do you think happens in general with people when it's hard for them to negotiate if the other person is more of a threat and I should just shut down and get off and not talk about this stuff anymore, because that's really what's being triggered in me. And I wonder if that happens to somebody simply at the dinner table when somebody says, come on, just have a bite. Come on. You're not really addicted to, come on, it's my birthday, right? That eventually, and I think there's like, you get so bogged down that you're just like, okay, fine. Like, I think somehow I'm really tuned in where somebody will say, you're harming people by saying this. And my appeasement gets up and I'm like, wait, am I? But then I should stop. Or like, maybe when like that embarrassment and rejection comes up so profoundly too.
But I wonder if it's always that way or it was just like a vulnerable moment for you because
I just woken up and went on social.
well, because I've heard you speak loud and proud about all of the stuff you're talking about right now with no fear, no shame, no whatever. And so I'm wondering if you were just in that vulnerable place where, yeah, those things you started to internalize some of them, because from what I know about you, there was a purpose behind you making that post. What in that moment were you hoping to, like, what is the greater picture that you're there to build and share? And how can you stay anchored to that purpose rather than one comment?
That's really beautiful and really helpful. I don't know that it's helpful to the listener, but I think that's a really great way to bring it in. It's so helpful for me. Thank you. Which is kind of attaching to my larger morals. I don't know, you guys, my appeasement and people pleasing is at very high levels. And I think you're really right. And I want everyone to hear that. I think I did have this thought when I really got dysregulated over this, which was in the spirit of the haters of my post, but you need to have limits and boundaries about when you check this account.
Yes.
Like, and like I am with the food, frankly, like you need to have bright lines. You need to have way better containment of your nervous system. I think maybe I overestimated my own capacity. Right. It was like, oh, what's, the curse of my existence. Like, oh God, it's not a big deal. Right. And it's like, maybe that's what I'm learning, that it is a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and to Clarissa's point, and this could apply to the listener as well, right? When we show up in spaces that we're comfortable and confident in, and we've done it before, it's not new. Like you said, Clarissa, you've heard Molly talk about these big subjects and like with confidence, and you go on these summits and do all that. You're doing it with this very like conscious, you're very conscious in the way that you're showing up and the messages that you're giving and your values and your boundaries, all of that. And my guess is that if there's been any sort of quote negative feedback, you're not necessarily privy to it all the time.
Exactly.
And did you prepare yourself because you opened yourself to feedback? good, bad, ugly,
Yeah,
right, wrong,
right,
indifferent.
right.
You opened yourself to it by putting this out there. And the same is true if we're sitting around a dinner table and I'm like, yeah, I don't eat bread because blah, blah, blah. Like I'm opening myself up to
Oh God,
feedback.
that's such a good
So
point.
I
And
have
to
to,
bullying. I mean,
and
really,
you
and
are
to
because
really
that's
triggering somebody who thinks
feedback.
that's not okay. Sure.
That's right. That's right. And so we have to walk into it eyes wide open. I'm not saying it's not still going to hurt. I'm not saying it's not
No.
still going to impact you in a way, but but it's like there's some level of like being naive or something to think that like, oh, everybody loves us and they're just going to like listen to everything we have to say and they're going to support us in every aspect of our lives. That is my best hope for
Mhm.
sure. When I'm sitting at the dinner table with my family or I'm out to dinner with friends or whatever it might be. But there is always that option for somebody to have a different opinion than mine.
Yeah.
And how I take it in, right? How my
Yeah.
nervous system processes it is the issue or not the issue. Not so much the thing that I said or did,
Mm.
but like how am I taking in that feedback and evaluating it? Is this person somebody that I would take life advice from? Does this person
Mhm.
actually have something to offer me other than negative criticism? Because if it's not even constructive, is that even helpful to me? Right. And again, I would still
You should
consider,
make
and I
a
don't care,
whole, you should do a post about this.
maybe, but I would
It's
consider,
really a good checklist, like
yeah, I would,
about like really
yeah,
receiving. It's a great, I have to be honest. I want to hear more like, I think I went in without any sunscreen. I was so,
right. Yeah,
like I didn't even think of any of this. Isn't that
no,
wild? And you're, I mean, I'm
But I would say it's so human
it
of
is.
you, right?
Like,
do I care about, I mean, I care about everybody, but it's like,
yeah,
yeah, I have to just thicken up a little bit, right? Got to get better sunscreen for this experience. Cause I do want to like share my message. And if there's a larger audience, I mean, it's so, like the brain wants us to be safe, not happy. Like one of my clients saw it and she was like, Molly, can I just tell you, I've been waiting my whole life to hear somebody say the stuff that you're saying on TikTok, like, and you are my therapist,
yeah,
Mhm.
and I was like, thank you.
yeah, yeah, that's important.
I guess. I guess it's a really painful thing to turn on myself. I don't know. Do you guys ever struggle with that? You sort of like that self-doubt creeping in and it's like I couldn't find myself. There, you
I
guys ever
I literally had a whole meltdown yesterday, didn't I, Clarissa?
tell me
It
about
was surrounding a very similar
Is
situation.
surrounding a very similar thing. Exactly.
what
So
was it? Tell us
I'm not going to go
in a
into like,
general way.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So essentially what happened was I received an email from a person that I had never asked for an email from this person, but they
Oh.
felt the need to include me in this and point out very specifically, in their opinion, I am not food addiction informed and therefore cannot be listed as a provider on their website. And to tell you that I went through the roof is probably an understatement because
Mm.
if I would have been in the same room as that person, you want to talk about
We have
seeing
we
mean
have
Molly
different
come out,
trauma
mean Molly would
responses,
have come.
huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so visceral.
Mm.
I am not a fighter for myself. I fight for other people and I freeze or I flee. But everything in me wanted to fight. And then Clarissa wanted to fight for me. And I'm like, oh
I
God,
want to
please don't
fight
do
for you
that.
too for whatever it's
Yeah.
worth.
But
You got the threesome here.
Yeah, but
yeah,
don't even
yeah.
mess.
But essentially it was like there was the feeling of like, oh my God, I'm not good enough.
Hmm.
Paired with like what is truth, what is reality. This person is in a different, I don't even know, different dimension that is not this one. They're in the la dimension.
Mm.
Um, and I went back to, it's so funny because I just had some spiritual download in the last couple days prior to this. It was like the universe was testing me, Molly. When you talk about imposter syndrome, the universe was testing me because just a day before, so what was yesterday? Yesterday was Wednesday. So on Tuesday, I literally wrote in my journal, I live in truth, not performance. I don't need to be palatable to be worthy.
Mm.
Girl, you're like winning the podcast. Not that it's a contest. Yes.
But
I
like,
need to, like, I'm going to watch this podcast so many times until I have it memorized.
right. So I had written that down. And then like in one of my messages to Clarissa, I was like, the universe is testing me. The universe is testing me. I
Right.
have the
Like, do you
spiritual
really mean that?
download Tuesday. Here come all these opportunities on Wednesday to test that out. And I think that really gets at the root of that idea of imposter syndrome. How can I be an imposter in my own life? I am not a trained monkey. I am not an actor. I do not have to perform for other people to go ahead and gatekeep my worth.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah. The other thing I was thinking about for me too is like, probably something to bring to my actual therapy, which is why is it so important for me to convince everybody, right? Why is it so important for everybody to agree with me? And this is historical, even through a lot of the stuff I've talked about on the show, and that justice thing, right? Like I'm right though. Like I need to convince you, and that urgency around that. And it's like these strangers. I'm like, no, 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 like me, I don't know. It's complicated, but I love this idea of just simplifying it down. And I think it takes a lot of practice though, that I imagine for me it will. I don't think this will be a straight line, but I guess what I can do, which is a godly, what we would tell our clients, right? Like I have to be sure that I am well maintained when I am checking
Mhm.
my part of the social media world.
Yeah. Totally. I mean, and the thing is it can come in the form of an email. It can come in the form of
Yeah,
your BFF sitting next to you at coffee. It comes
Right,
in all these different forms,
right.
and we have to be ready for that.
yeah, and you can't always be prepared. Like, that's, I think, important too. There's going to be things and surprises, and we're gonna have reactions, but it's like, how do I love myself after I've had these reactions?
Mm,
As like I just had another situation where I'm like starting to date again. And I was like, very excited. I'd connected with this guy, it was going so good. And then I was at a dinner party and tons of people were around. And I was sitting by my friend and I was going to show her the Hinge profile. And he unmatched me. And
oh,
I did not pause. I, my ego showed up and sent him a delightful message. And it was very unnecessary. However, I was just emotionally reacting, and in the end he ended up messaging me back and we actually went on a date, but I just needed I
yeah.
to notice, I'm like, I just love so big. I'm just so emotional
Was
about
it like that, like rage of rejection that was happening in that moment?
that. And like shocking because I thought I knew who he was from the amount of chatting we had done. And like I was like, I can't believe people would do this. Like,
Mm,
it's the justice,
injustice, I know.
right? Is like, this is
You
just
like
like,
told me about this one time. It's like finding out you're addicted to sugar. It's
yeah.
ruined my life. It comes up and I'm
The
like, oh,
justice
there's the
value.
injustice that Clarissa's talking about that I struggle with. I'm like, oh, like it's just you cannot put that justice toothpaste like back in a tube. I can promise you that. Yeah, that rage of injustice, it just like comes out of me. Like, but I'll close on this. My old therapist, Michael O'Brien, said, maybe we need to do a whole podcast on this. Let us know if you're listening and watching. He said, there is no rage so great as a neglected child. And neglect we could use in very different forms. And I feel like that
Yeah.
comes out as my like neglected child. Like, F you. Anyway, I feel much better. I have a lot of skills. I would put you on any list, Molly and Clarissa.
Oh, well,
But
thank you.
I put you on my
Clarissa,
favorite.
Clarissa got the green light. She's
Oh,
good to go.
I
Don't worry,
definitely did
folks.
meet her.
Two
And
of the three shrinks here are good to go.
well, you're my preferred shrink today. You too, Clarissa.
No, no. Molly is
And,
mine.
and listen, we need your help. Can you take 30 seconds and just press subscribe? If you're on YouTube, just press subscribe. If you're listening, just press subscribe. Now, do you have 2 minutes? Maybe. If you do, can you rate and review us and maybe even send us to a friend? Because, podcasting ain't free. And the more, the merrier. We love you, love you, love you. We want to hear from you also. So you can just email us at, what is it?
Ask the shrinks at foodshrinks.com.
We love you guys. We'll see you next week.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to Food Shrinks. Quick reminder, this podcast isn't a substitute for professional medical advice. Always consult your healthcare provider for guidance suited to your needs. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe to help us reach others on the recovery journey. Take care, and remember, freedom with food is possible. See you next time.